You're listening to the So Good It Doesn't Make Sense podcast, a podcast for women navigating divorce who want more. More clarity, more money, more peace, more power. I'm Megan Norris, divorce expert, coach, and the friend who's going to tell you the truth. Not just about what's happening right now, but about what's possible for you next. This podcast is about making decisions you trust, building a life you actually want, and becoming the version of you that no one saw coming. Whether you're in it, ending it, or already out, you're in the right place. You're about to become the CEO of your life and create one so good it doesn't make sense. Let's get started. Oh, hi. Welcome back to the podcast. Glad that you're here. Hope you had a good weekend. I just recorded like half of this and realized my mic was off, but that's okay. We're going to start over. The second time's going to be even better. I'm so proud that I caught it halfway through instead of when it got uploaded and someone messages me, hey, there's no sound on your podcast this week, which has happened before. All right. We're going to talk today about fighting. If you're in a divorce, or maybe you're already divorced, but you're having some tension or challenges with your co-parent, and maybe you're using lawyers to resolve that, and it's feeling like the amicability is gone. This is a reality for a lot of women, and y'all fight hard to hang on to that amicability, often to your own detriment. But once it's gone, and you got to get your mind right around when that, what happens when that happens, so that you can create the best possible outcome and still embody the identity transformation, do the identity transformation work while you're navigating the circumstance that's going to set you up for a life so good it doesn't make sense. If that's not clear, that's what we're doing here. We're using divorce as a catalyst of personal transformation and growth, so that on the other side of it, whether it's easy peasy and it's done, or it's a 3-year, 5-year process, whatever that looks like for you, whatever your story is, that's the point. Yes, we're not just getting divorced to say we got divorced. We're getting divorced because we're hoping to create better lives. And we can get so mixed up and turned around and confused about what actually we're doing and how we should be making decisions, and the energy from which we should be making those decisions if things have turned litigious or contentious. And I'm going to help you clear that up today. I think this is one of the most important things that you will do if you are faced with that circumstance. So let's talk about the trap of fighting first for a minute. When someone says, well, I have to fight now. I'm fighting for what I'm legally entitled to. I'm fighting for, a certain co-parenting plan. I'm fighting my ex. I'm fighting the system. I'm fighting the abuse. I'm fighting whatever, co-counsel, whatever it is. As soon as you use that word and that energy, you're stuck in the power dynamic. You're stuck inside a paradigm somebody else chose for you. And a lot of you probably have exes that are stuck there, right? They do think this is a fight, and you're like, wait, no. It's not though. We're not, there doesn't need to be a fight here. And oftentimes it's hard for them to disengage from that. And they sometimes never do. They stay in this fighting mentality, and you think you have to match them there. And I'm saying you better not. Because as soon as you decide you have to match them there, you're buying into the power dynamic. You're going in. And that means that you're reactive, because fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. We're not in survival unless there's a perceived threat. So you've now consented to there being a perceived threat. You've consented to the power dynamic. Okay. You've consented to potentially being the disempowered party, probably, right? Otherwise, it's not so scary, right? Fighting means you're agreeing that this is a power dynamic and you need to fight it. And it's presuming that the power exists outside of you and you have to fight to take some back. And as long as you're operating in your divorce, in your co-parenting relationship, in your life from that position, you are disadvantaged. You're at the mercy of whatever somebody else decides. You're never going to really feel like you have any agency. You're going to be fearful, and you're going to be caught flat-footed, so to speak, and the ball's going to be coming at you fast. And you're going to be reactive. It compromises your decision-making ability. It compromises your vision. It compromises your health. This is a terrible experience for you. Never mind that it also compromises the result. Okay, so what's the power shift here? The power isn't won. You don't win by agreeing to the power dynamic and fighting harder. A power shift, the reclamation, the sovereignty, your agency is created only by stepping outside the dynamic entirely and refusing to participate. This is what I mean. This is why I say your future is not an asset up for negotiation in your divorce unless you decide it is, unless you decide that your divorce settlement or your time-sharing agreement somehow gets to dictate what's possible for you in the future. Your strategy cannot be to win the tug of war because you're going to lose. The strategy is to drop the rope and set your own terms. It takes two people to fight energetically. It takes two people to be in a fight. If one person is like, wait, I'm not doing this. I'm going to stay calm. I'm going to stay collected, and I'm going to make decisions from a place of being my own guarantee and some certainty. You start to disarm the power dynamic. I'm going to talk about all of the objections that you're having in your head right now, right? Like, but you can't just walk away from a fight if someone's beating you up. We're going to get there. Okay. Hang with me. I know I'm going to feel like you got to gaslight yourself for a minute, but I promise you that is not what's happening. This is quantum physics. This is energy. I don't know. I'm a little confused why everyone's just ignoring these universal truths because it's a divorce, as if they don't count, as if gravity doesn't apply because it's a hard thing that we go through. That's just not true. Okay, so a lot of women think I just need to fight smarter and get tougher and push back harder and then I'll win. But is that working? Is that working? No. I just had a meeting, a consultation with a very sweet woman who was distraught. She has been fighting and pushing and trying to get tougher for 5 years. And her ex has lied and falsified testimony and evidence and has managed to convince a court that she is not entitled. Not only is she an unfit mother, but she's also not entitled to, like $15 million. When you are hysterically fighting against something because you are living in terror, you are not in your power or agency. You compromise your decision-making process. Now, sometimes that looks like hysteria. Like we feel hysterical and we get hysterical and we are barely coherent when we're talking to our lawyers because we're panicked. But a lot of times with you, because you're so high functioning, you can appear cool as a cucumber on the surface. You're like a duck gliding along the water. Nobody can see that underneath the water, there's furious paddling going on and chaos in your nervous system, anxiety and fear and doubt and worry that are just confusing the hell out of you. This is what is going to set you apart from the average divorce story. I don't want you to fight. I want you to exit the fight. Get off the ride and redefine the game. Redefine what the point is here. It's not a game. Fair enough. Redefine what it is you're doing here. It's not about, I'm not talking about like mantras and, gaslighting yourself. I'm talking about really reclaiming your agency and your sovereignty so that no matter what happens, you know you're going to be okay. Because when you really believe that, guess what? The threats, the possibility of an unfavorable outcome doesn't land the same as it does when you're not so sure, when you think your very survival depends on you getting what you want. Of course you have to fight then. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of objections. I can hear you, I can feel you having them. And this is why I'm so careful with my words, and I also want you to come work with me so that you can understand the nuance here, because your survival brain takes what I say and it weaponizes it and tells you you're not doing it right, or that you have to somehow be inauthentic or lie or pretend like this isn't a problem in order to be okay or to get what you want or to create the best possible outcome. But that's not what I'm saying. So let's talk about a few of those objections or thought errors that we can have sometimes. Number one, you disengaging from the power dynamic doesn't mean you have to believe it doesn't exist or that you have to feel neutral or okay about it. You can hate something, you can loathe something, you can be in agony and anguish over something, and it can still not be a problem you have to fix. Whoa. We're going to say it again. You can hate something, you can be in agony over something, and still decide it's not a problem that you need to fix. You can still recognize, oh, this actually isn't a problem I have the power to fix. You, in your divorce, are most likely powerless. Unless you're going to go on a public crusade, you're likely powerless to overhaul the family court system and make a corrupt district or judge or attorney different. That's not where your power is. If you want to change the system, you got to get out of it. You got to rise above it, and you got to claim this beautiful future that you want. That's how we change the system. By refusing to participate in a way that agrees with being a disempowered party. That's the only way. You cannot fight that battle from within it, thinking that you have to fight from within it and win. You will not win. You're just one person. That is not your responsibility, and you can't do it. The best chance, in fact, the way we're going to for sure shift how things are happening in the court system, the dynamic that, divorce isn't about litigation, yet everybody has attorneys, and the pleadings say, party versus party, just like a normal trial would. Normal, adversarial court proceedings are filed. Like, right? It's like, what a farce. Okay. It's not you versus me, but everything is constructed around this idea that it's you versus me. Okay, great. But I'm not buying into that. Just because it looks that way, I'm not going to participate in it in the same way. I don't like it. I don't think it's what's best for everybody. I don't think it's what's best for our kids. I have very strong opinions about how we treat our children as chattel, as timeshares that we're entitled to time with. That's not, in my opinion, in the best interests of the children. It's in the best interests of the parents' legal rights. I don't even think you can make the arguments in the best interests of the parents' overall well-being and emotional life. I don't like it. But I am not going to get lost in the weeds fighting it from within my own divorce case. I'm going to refuse to participate in it. And I'm going to say, okay, look, I got to go through the motions here, but I'm going to make decisions based on what I believe is right for my kids. I'm going to make decisions based on what I believe is best for me. I'm going to trust my own value system and integrity. And what happens after that, I can't actually control. I don't need to work so hard to grip control that I'm never going to have. It's exhausting. It makes you sick. It costs you tons of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees. I've talked to you. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees. And for what? With what to show for it? Often a loss. A loss. I don't want you to be at the mercy of this process. And the only way we get there is by owning your opinion that we don't love it and it's okay. We still don't have to fight to win, because you always lose when you do that. We can advocate for what we want. We can own radical responsibility for how we show up and the decisions that we make, which cuts both ways, by the way. More often than not, the women I work with, that cuts towards stop pretending that you want to agree to things you don't want to agree to because you think that you're setting an example of amicability that no one's going to follow, or because you think that if you compromise enough that this will be over. I'm almost always pulling us back from this over compromising, over amicability, fake keeping the peace business that we do. That's what it looks like oftentimes. But it can also look like aggressively, emailing your attorney and demanding things and costing yourself tons of legal fees and doing unnecessary discovery when you don't need to, and all because your thoughts and feelings are not managed at the highest level. Your self-leadership during this time is critical. Not so much, because we want the best divorce outcome for you. We do. And for your kids. I definitely want that. But I'm also really invested in your future. Who you become through this process. And now I'm forgetting what I've said in this recording versus what I said in the first one. And I don't want to repeat myself, but I'm going to say it again because I don't think I've said it in this recording. The point of this is who you become through the process. It's not to get divorced. I do not want you to get divorced just to get divorced. No, we get divorced to build a better life. And the only way you build a better, different life is by transforming who you're being. And there are so many opportunities in your divorce to change how you're thinking, what you take responsibility for, how you manage your emotions, how you show up, what actions you take, how much you rest, what actions you don't take. All of that greatly impacts your outcome. It is possibly, if not definitely, the most impactful piece of this. And the good news is it's all within your control. But you have to stop thinking about this like a fight. You have to stop thinking about this righting some wrong. No matter how awful your marriage was, or how much money is on the line, or what's going on with your kids, if you're fighting, you're already behind the 8 ball, which is where the system wants you to be. I mean, I hate saying that, but it kind of does. right? It's wild, some of the stories I've heard. And if you just refuse to participate in that, whatever that looks like for you, and I promise you, I could talk to you for 10 minutes and tell you. I don't need to work with you for 6 months to tell you what that looks like for you. And it's probably going to surprise you. It's where are you not giving your kids enough credit for being resilient? Where are you thinking that it's your job to control every part and bit experience they have of their other parent? Where are you thinking that money gets to determine whether or not you're okay? Where are you thinking, where are you doubting yourself and making certain decisions about maybe changing lawyers or deciding not to pursue a certain motion or legal proceeding? All of those things are usually fraught with thought errors and mismanaged energy, and that affects how you show up, what you do, what you decide, and what you don't do. And that creates your experience of your divorce and lays the foundation for your future. We're either going to keep repeating the patterns of people pleasing and over functioning and over responsibility and, uh, you know, inauthenticity because you're trying so hard to do it right. We keep doing that, we're going to build a life after divorce that's going to look different from our marriage, but it's going to feel strangely the same. And maybe some of you are there right now. That's okay. It's just you got to do the identity work. You have to start showing up differently in the world if you want something different in your life. And playing around with this idea of stepping out of the power dynamic instead of consenting to it and tugging on the rope so hard. And instead just drop it. Drop the rope. Where you can, where you want to, where it makes sense to, and always energetically. It doesn't mean you don't decide to advocate for yourself. It doesn't mean you don't refuse to settle on terms that you don't want to settle on. It's the opposite. Now we can access way more agency instead of survival, authenticity instead of survival, belief in yourself and in your future and in your vision instead of despair and scarcity. And now we can make very clear decisions much more easily about how you want to proceed. The answer is not to just lay down and be a doormat. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you want to make the decision to advocate for yourself from a place of power and agency, not flat-footed from a place of scarcity because you think you have to fight something. You have to fight the injustice. Nope. That's the most unfair thing you can do to yourself. I could just get on my soapbox and talk about this forever. Because you do yourself such a great disservice when you decide that you have to fight for justice. I have an open case with the court with my co-parent. Someone would look at it and say, "Oh, you're litigating." I don't use that language and I don't want to. No, I'm not. I am absolutely not fighting anything. I'm advocating for what I think is best for my kids, and whatever happens, happens. It's not my job to control the outcome. My job is to show up in a way that brings me peace so that when I lay my head down at night, I know that I did everything within my power as a mom, as a single parent, as a co-parent to do what I believe is best for everyone. Certainly my kids. After that, my job is done. My job is to then manage whatever anxiety comes up, whatever fear comes up, whatever scarcity comes up, and to use that energy, that emotional fuel for myself and to channel it into something that I can actually control, not to flail and fight and spend money in a legal process that isn't serving me and that doesn't really align with who I am and what I want most. Does this make sense? Are we clear? This episode was inspired because I did a reel a couple weeks ago now about the woman I mentioned who had lost millions of dollars, probably in her divorce. And she was just so upset about the injustice of it all. And I know she's going to be okay, but she's not so sure. And that really is the determining factor. I can know it all day long. I know that you could reclaim your power, suit up and show up and write an epic story for the next chapter of your life. But if you don't believe that, if she doesn't believe that, then she can't do it. And so I was talking in the reel about how nothing is more valuable than your belief in yourself and your self-trust to handle anything that's thrown your way. When did we decide we're so fragile? Well, the system told us that, right? Yeah. And we kind of have this therapy culture today, and, we just need to be healed, and trauma's bad and abuse is horrible, and you're the powerless party in this dynamic. And it's just like reinforced over and over again, this story. And it really eats away at, I don't even know if I love the word belief so much as I like self-trust, right? Look at what you've done. Look at the kids you've raised. If you have kids, look at the relationship you navigated. Look at the divorce circumstances you're navigating and the complex emotional dynamics with family and friends, and you're shouldering it all, and the finances and your career, and you're incredible. And if you don't believe that, it won't matter how incredible you are or how incredible other people say you are. It won't hit home and you won't show up that way. And so I was talking about how that is, one of your most valuable assets, and you've got to work on it. Especially if you're navigating a litigious divorce or a contentious one. And one of the comments on that reel said, it is not about women believing in themselves. This is about the family court system being abusive, and we have to fight. And we, of course, all agree with that sentiment 100%. I understand what she's saying, the spirit of it. But I think the strategic way to actually do it, because if fighting it worked, it would have already worked. If desperation and effort and trying counted for something, it would have already worked. We have to find another way. And I think this is kind of the foundation of that. So you got to stop pulling so hard on that rope, because meanwhile, you're just giving away everything. Drop the rope emotionally, energetically. Stop outsourcing your power. Stop consenting to the power dynamic. Stop fighting to be understood. Stop trying to get someone to agree with you about something that doesn't even matter. When you can start to create the space internally for you through the peace and understanding of I don't need to be understood by everybody, you start to reclaim your sovereignty. This is not a fast process necessarily. I do believe that it happens in moments, instantaneous moments. I'll say something to one of my clients, I can tell it lands, it shifts something in them forever. Once you know it, you can't unknow it. But it sometimes takes our reality, a 3D reality, a minute to catch up with it. So you have to keep practicing showing up with this peace and this power before you have all the evidence that it is actually working. I promise the evidence will come. But aren't you tired? I feel so tired for everybody who's still just trying so hard to fight a behemoth with their effort, because it just doesn't work. But that's okay, because we have something that does, and it's so much simpler, it's so much easier, and it's so much more effective. And bonus, the strategic byproduct, the delightful byproduct, is that it does set you up to do whatever you want with your future, whatever it is. Nothing will feel as face melting off as you shedding an old identity of powerlessness during your divorce. I mean, ask me how I know. And I want this for everybody, for all of your exes, for our children, for the professionals involved in the systems. If everybody can get out of scarcity and survival, and if everyone was empowered and had financial sovereignty and belief in themselves and trust, we're looking at an entirely different system. But we can't control everything. We can't control all those people. We can only control ourselves. But your energy is incredibly powerful and transformative, not just for you, but for everyone around you, especially your children. If you want to work with me, my mentorship applications are open. I have some one-on-one spots for the end of the year, and the link will be in the show notes for that. And please feel free to reach out to me anytime. If you want to email me, if you want to message me, you know where to find me. And I'll see you back here next week. Bye. Thanks for listening to the So Good It Doesn't Make Sense podcast. If today's episode resonated, please take a minute and leave a review. It helps women find this work and change their lives and divorces too. For more support, be sure you follow me on Instagram at Megan Norris Coaching. That's where I share real-time strategy, perspective, and what it actually looks like day to day. And when you're ready to go deeper, join the Divorce Academy, my monthly membership for women navigating divorce with clarity, power, and community. I'll see you next week. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for legal, financial, or mental health advice. Please consult with licensed professionals as needed.